When we last saw the Gregory party aboard the stolen Euclidean submarine, their position was anything but a happy one. Compelled to anchor the submarine on the floor of the ocean in 9,000 feet of water, Jones soon discovers that the Euclideans have located them even there. As Captain Bradford engages in two-way radio communication with Johnson in Los Angeles, the scientists on the Magic Island send out a radio beam of such power as to nearly cripple the submarine. Then the Euclideans send out a musical note, keyed to a certain pitch, and Jerry Hall gets a severe headache. Mrs. Gregory watches helplessly as they plan to run the risk of capture in a desperate dash to Los Angeles.
Well, of all the crazy things I ever heard of, this is the worst. We have to run to Los Angeles to get away from a musical note that makes my headache sent over the radio.
It is not that particular note we must fear, Jerry. I can protect you in the soundproof sleeping section in the stern of the submarine. What we must guard against is the note which will cause this submarine to break up.
But how can we guard against such a thing?
If we are quick enough, we may quite possibly save the boat, though its operation may be far from perfect thereafter.
Well, never mind the boat. How about our operation?
We will not be harmed if I act quickly enough.
Oh, Joan, dear, what must you think of us? You must do this and you must do that, while we sit helplessly by and watch you save us time and time again.
Because, Mother, I am the only one who understands all these devices the Euclideans use. And because I understand how to operate this submarine to the best advantage, to prevent the Euclideans successfully attacking us.
But isn't there something we could be doing, Joan?
Yes. If you will do as I tell you, Captain Bradford, and you also, Mother, you can assist greatly.
Oh, of course, Joan, dear. We'll be only too glad to do as you direct, won't we, Tex?
Absolutely. We're in your hands, Joan, and your orders will be the law here.
Me too.
You will remain with me, Jerry.
Oh, then I'm going to help you with something up here, huh?
No, I want you near me so that I may keep you out of trouble.
I guess that takes care of you, Jerry.
Sure looks like it.
Never mind, Jerry. If Joan is taking care of you, you're in good hands.
What do we do, Joan?
You will go to the soundproof section in the extreme stern.
Back where the sleeping quarters are, dear?
Further back. Just behind the sleeping quarters, you will find another of the transparent steel doors. Open it. Enter the small chamber there and remove everything that is not permanently fastened to the floor and walls of the compartment.
What do we do with these things?
Bring them forward into the sleeping compartment at once and fasten them down to the best of your ability.
Is that all, Joan?
Yes, that is all. I will find something with which to occupy Jerry while you are gone.
Are you sure you understand exactly what's expected of us, Tex?
All we have to do is to clean everything movable out of the stern section.
Well, do you know why we're doing this?
No, and it didn't seem like the time to ask questions.
Well?
Yes?
Huh?
What?
What do I do?
Listen.
Listen?
Yes, listen attentively.
Okay. I don't hear anything.
I did not mean for you to listen to sounds in general.
I'm not. I'm listening to the absence of sound in general.
My meaning was quite clear, Jerry. You are to listen to what I have to say.
Guess I can't help myself. Go ahead.
We are going to undertake a very dangerous experiment.
That won't be anything new for this trip.
This will be the first time we have deliberately created a dangerous situation for ourselves.
Oh, yeah? I suppose when we stole this submarine, we created a picnic for ourselves.
Jerry, if you persist in misunderstanding me, it will be useless to attempt to explain my plan to you.
Well, sorry, Joan. Go to it.
I am confident that our only immediate danger lies in the possibility of Octavo discovering the musical note which will set up vibrations within the structure of this boat. Vibrations sufficiently strong to shatter it.
Yeah, I guess he can do that all right. But I don't see how we're going to know when he's found it until it's too late.
We will have to move quite rapidly. You must know that to respond to a note in the musical scale, either the common scale or the wider ranges of sound, the entire construction of an object must be focused at one central point.
Oh, I know that. Like the keystone in the arch of a bridge.
Exactly. And this submarine will also be found to have a keystone, not placed as one, nor appearing as one. But somewhere in everything built by the hand of man, there is one important point, one vital point which will respond to a certain musical note.
Now, I understand that. And I understand when old Octavo finds a note that fits this sub, G47 will broadcast that note in our beam, and this boat will fall to pieces.
That is the possibility.
Uh-huh. Swell idea. And when the sub cracks up, we're left to swim under 1.5 miles of ocean water.
You cannot swim under 1.5 miles of water.
I know it. That's what's worrying me.
If my plan is successful, we will remain within the boat.
Well, that won't be much fun after the boat smashes around us.
The boat will not, as you say, smash around us.
Well, if you can figure how to keep us dry after our boat leaves us on the bottom of the ocean, hurry up and tell me.
I asked Mother and Captain Bradford to remove everything from that stern ballast section for a definite reason.
Oh, I thought maybe you just wanted to give them something to do.
It will also serve that purpose. However, I want that section cleared so that we may drop it off without losing any of our supplies.
Drop it off?
Precisely.
Drop off the tail of the submarine?
It is so constructed as to permit that.
But can we still run it and steer it just as well?
We may continue to operate the boat, and our speed will be appreciably increased, though the loss of the stern stabilizing pins will render accurate navigation difficult.
Oh, that's nice. We'll go faster, but we can't steer the blame thing, huh? Won't we have a lot of fun zigzagging around, cutting the tops off submerged islands?
I will guarantee to keep the boat free of any such obstruction.
But what good will it do us to lose the tail of this thing? Old Octavo isn't shooting his musical note at the stern. He's aiming for the keynote of this boat, and that's probably near the center of it.
Precisely. And my plan is this. Octavo will find that note without doubt, and possibly find it very soon, as he must have been experimenting all through the hours since we left the island. When he finds it, it will be sent out on our course.
And we'll start to shake ourselves out of this floating target.
Yes. We will feel the vibrations before they cause any appreciable damage. And the instant we are conscious of the action of the musical beam, I will pull this lever. That will drop the stern section off, and we will be safe.
Well, maybe you can see it.
You should see it also. It is very simple.
Okay, I'm simple then, but I still don't see it.
By dropping that section, we change the entire construction of this boat. We change the Newtonian base.
The what?
The Newtonian base. Have you never heard of that?
Oh, afraid not.
Jerry, is it possible that in your world a young man may reach the age of 16 without learning of Sir Isaac Newton?
Oh, sure, I know all about Newton. He used to sleep under apple trees. One day an apple fell on his head and he figured out the law of gravity.
The story of the apple is probably fallacious. However, it is Newton's law to which I refer. The Newtonian base is the center of gravity.
Oh, all right, we'll argue about that some other time. I know what you mean anyhow. When you drop off the tail section, you change the center of gravity of this boat, and that changes the musical note which will wreck the boat.
That is a crude explanation, but if you understand it, that will suffice.
Well, go on. When you change the center of gravity, you mix old Octavo all up, and then he's got to spend some more hours making noises with glasses of water until he finds a new musical note which they can broadcast to wreck us.
That is it. Our safety depends on my ability to recognize the vibrations of the destructive beam the instant they strike us, and to distort them by losing the stern section.
Well, do we have to open the receiving side of this radio set to hear the beam coming?
It would be very simple if we could do that. Unfortunately, the note which will strike the vital center of this boat will be of such high frequency that the ear will not detect it.
Well, if we can't hear this thing coming, what can we do about it?
I've explained that over and over, Jerry. We will feel the vibrations. The submarine will actually start to break up, and then I will drop the stern section.
That's going to make it mighty close figuring. But if that's the best we can do, well, it's the best we can do.
Mother and the captain are coming.
Then they must have finished cleaning house back there.
I think we removed everything from that section.
Yeah, I know we did. We've got everything that wasn't part of the boat.
That is well. Now, if you will take your stations and lock the safety devices on the steel chairs.
Well, what's going to happen, Joan?
Get yourself anchored in that seat, Pap, and Joan can tell us what she has in mind.
I've secured my life belt.
I'm tied in.
Me too.
Excellent. Now, as I have explained to Jerry, we may expect an attempt to destroy this submarine any moment, any second. And when this attempt is made, the first indication of it will be a series of sharp and violent vibrations. We must be prepared to remain in our places and make no false moves. I will quickly cut off that stern section, thus changing the center of attraction in this boat and saving us from destruction.
Oh, we hope.
But, Joan, if you are afraid the Euclideans are going to send a destructive radio beam and our safety can be assured by dropping that stern section, why wait until they start sending out this beam?
This will be a constant musical note, Mother. And I am basing my plan of escape on the belief that Octavo is working to find the note which will destroy this boat as it now stands. If we were to change our structure before he strikes, he would know it instantly and would set about making ready to attack us as a smaller unit.
Well, that's sensible enough, Joan. Once he has sent out his constant note tuned to this sub, and you have thrown him out of range by dropping that section, he will be forced to start his experiments all over again, giving us at least a few hours in which to run for home.
Precisely, Captain.
You sure understand easy enough, Tex.
Well, I have studied the destructive power of a musical note.
You and I seem to be the only ones completely in the dark on this, Jerry.
Sure looks like it, Mrs. Gregory. But if Joan and the captain know everything, we don't have to worry about knowing anything.
Silence.
Golly whiskers! Joan, you did it!
Good work, Joan. You saved the submarine.
Oh, Joan, that was wonderful. The boat was being shaken to pieces.
We were very near destruction for a few seconds. Now we are free. And as it should take Octavo several hours to find a new note for this smaller shell, we will utilize those hours by shooting to the surface and racing for Los Angeles.
Well, can you handle the boat now?
It will be difficult. Remain strapped in your seats. I will refuel with a double charge. We will travel vertically.
You mean you'll shoot this sub straight up through 1.5 miles of water?
Precisely.
Boy, oh boy! Everybody hold on tight. We're going straight up.
Now the race for freedom is on in earnest. With Joan Gregory at the controls, the stolen Euclidean submarine is driving at full speed for the surface of the ocean. And that full speed is terrific. The submarine is capable of making over 40 miles an hour underwater. And added to this is the change in water pressure, which aids in shooting the boat straight up, almost as fast as a bullet shot out of a gun. Jerry, Mrs. Gregory, and the captain are excited by this ride and perhaps a little nervous. But they appear to be quite comfortable as they sit in their swinging steel chairs, securely fastened with safety belts. Joan is giving them some last-minute instructions as the submarine nears the surface.
As we prepare to level off near the surface, you will all be subjected to a sudden change of direction and of position. Do not allow yourselves to relax in those chairs. Brace your feet and hands firmly and remain rigidly a part of the structure of this submarine until I order otherwise.
Okay, Joan. I'll hang on to everything.
Aren't we in danger of bursting out of the water with such a force as to strain this boat to the breaking point?
Well, I think so. After all, you can't rush straight up through 9,000 feet of water and shoot out into the air without some action.
We will not leave the water entirely. I shall level off at 10 fathoms, and the remaining water will act as a cushion, breaking our rise gradually until we reach 6 fathoms. We will then proceed at that level.
Well, the air pressure inside this thing won't change, and if we can keep from getting thrown out of these steel chairs, I guess we'll still be here when we come out on top.
We are not coming out on top, and you know it.
Jerry meant when we level off, Joan.
We have no time for further discussion now. We are nearly to 10 fathoms. Hold your stations. Brace yourselves well, and do not move until I give you permission.
Aye, aye,
Joan.
Skipper. I don't think I can speak.
You just did, Jerry.
Oh, then I can.
Well, Jerry, I too am surprised to learn that I can.
That was about the wildest bit of sailing I've ever gone through. Are we safely leveled off at 6 fathoms now?
We are, and proceeding along our course to Los Angeles.
Hey, we're not riding any too well.
That's to be expected, isn't it, Joan, with that stern section off?
Yes, Captain Bradford. Our sailing will be very rough at all times now. The submarine is hard to control without the stern stabilizing fins.
We're certainly flopping around like goldfish in a bowl, but we seem to be making good time.
The vibration is not as great at this speed as it would be at a lower rate.
Then, for heaven's sake, don't slow down.
Are you uncomfortable, Mother?
I've really been more at ease a number of times, Joan, but I can stand it if the rest of you can.
When I think that we're getting away from that island, I can't imagine anything I couldn't stand.
That goes for me, too. Hey, Joan, how about using our radio now?
It would not be advisable. I hope that G47 and Thales will suppose this boat to be destroyed. And in their excitement, it is barely possible the scientists in the transmission chambers on Euclidia have failed to note our movement on their prism reflectors.
Well, I don't think those Euclideans ever miss anything.
They will probably locate us within a very short time.
But they won't be able to reach us with anything, will they, Joan?
Not to my knowledge. Though it is quite possible that G47 did not let me see everything there was to be seen on Euclidia. There were secret chambers where only a few of the greatest scientists went.
What about this man who succeeded in getting to Johnson at our radio set? Thales. What would he be doing in America?
Acting as a Euclidean spy and learning what new developments in science were being used.
Would he be in constant communication with the island?
To be sure he would.
But how could he send messages to them? He'd have to have a radio set somewhere in the States, and his messages would be picked up all over the world.
He would be operating on a frequency which no worldly station could pick up, as you call it, Jerry.
Is that going on all the time, all over the world?
Euclidia has many agents, that I know, and their reports come in a constant stream to the island. But it is most unusual for a scientist as great as Thales to leave the island. Such work is usually delegated to minor scientists.
Looks like old G47 figures we're pretty big stuff.
Big stuff?
Jerry is off on one of his non-English speaking tours. But he meant that we must be important enemies if Thales would personally set about to make trouble for us.
What do you suppose he could have done to Johnson?
Probably nothing at all. Certainly he will not have harmed him.
What makes you so sure of that?
Thales would know of some way to keep Mr. Johnson quiet for some time without hurting him. It is a strict policy with G47 to have his agents refrain from creating disturbances.
Well, I'll bet he didn't take that radio set away from Johnson without creating something. I saw Johnson once myself, and he's a pretty husky-looking fellow.
I think you'll find you're mistaken this time, Joan.
In what way, Mother?
Johnson would protect us with his life if necessary, and he would have to put up a struggle before turning that radio set over to an agent of Euclidia.
That's right, Joan.
I imagine that Johnson and Thales have never seen each other.
You
will all remain silent.
No,
I
but
said it
Joan,
will
dear.
all remain silent.
Well,
Thank you. I will attempt to explain.
I wish you would.
we heard Johnson's voice over the radio, and then the reception became very poor. The radio sounded as if it had been knocked over or broken or something.
Yes, and then Johnson said that danger threatened him, and that the radio had been tampered with.
There's no other way to figure it, Joan. Thales was standing right over Johnson when he sent that message.
I know you are wrong, and I will prove it.
Well, you'll sure have to. Hey, hold this thing still.
That was a bad one.
Oh, it felt as if the boat were turning around.
We did waver slightly from our true axis course.
Wave slightly. Huh. I get tossed around like a canoe in a storm, and we wave slightly.
We are riding easily now, Jerry.
So go on with your explanation about Johnson and Thales.
Johnson did not say that danger threatened him. He said danger threatens our plan.
Why, yes, Joan, that's true.
And furthermore, Johnson did not sound as if he were engaging in a struggle. The radio was becoming uncertain, but Johnson's voice quality or his relation to the microphone did not change.
Say, I guess it didn't at that.
You were right so far, Joan. Go on.
You have progressed far enough with your own experiments, Captain Bradford, to realize that it would be a very simple matter to place a destructive solvent in Johnson's radio. A solvent which would be released and flow through the set, quickly ruining it.
Yes, that wouldn't be hard. And a clever man could find a chance to get into the radio room and do that.
But if Thales wasn't there with Johnson, how could he release this solvent just at the right moment to interrupt Johnson's message to us?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know. Why, he might have planted that stuff in the radio hours before it was used. And Johnson could have sent plenty of other messages.
Agreed. But I believe that Thales was listening constantly to Johnson's station at his own powerful equipment not far off. And when Johnson was talking to us, Thales allowed him to talk just long enough to trace the beam to our exact location and report that to Euclidia, which would take very few seconds. Then he would cut in on Johnson's wavelength, reverse his powerful beam, and release the destructive material he had placed in your set at Los Angeles.
Why, Joan, that's fantastic. Reversing a radio beam to destroy a set?
Euclideans have done it often successfully.
Boy, that's the best one yet.
Yes, but it's also one of the easiest ones to perform. Don't forget that explosives are set off by radio in daily experiments all over the world.
I'm not questioning the Euclideans' ability to do this, But we've had so many of these experiences that it seems almost more than a person can stand.
Oh, cheer up, Mrs. Gregory. We'll catch this fellow Thales when we get back home.
What is the population of Los Angeles?
Well, with Hollywood and the suburban communities, it's roughly 2 million.
Then your chances of laying hands on Thales are 1 in 2 million, if he is in Los Angeles.
You know, there must be plenty of easy jobs in this world. Why do we always pick all the hard ones?
I like hard jobs, Jerry. They're the most interesting. And after you make good on something difficult, you may honestly feel that you've really accomplished something.
Yes, and we've sure done that. Only a few short weeks ago, we left Los Angeles in search of Joan. And now Joan is skippering us back at the controls of a Stoughton Euclidean submarine.
This will be considered an important adventure in your world, then?
It better be. I want to see my picture on page 1 of every newspaper in the country.
I'm sure you'll get your wish, Jerry. But when your picture has been on page 1 as many times as mine, you'll get a little tired of it.
They'll be taking your picture also, Joan.
I should like that. I have never seen my picture.
Of course you have, dear. Don't you remember the picture I showed you the day I found you?
But I was only a year old when that picture was taken. I am now 15 years. Surely I do not look the same.
I'll say you don't.
Oh, Joan, dear. That was dangerous, wasn't it?
No, Mother. Uncomfortable, possibly.
Possibly nothing. Uncomfortably, for sure.
Joan, there's something I don't quite understand about these sudden wild swings the stern of the boat makes.
What is that, Captain?
Well, when we're running along at constant speed, the gas combustion chamber makes hardly a sound. But when the stern of this thing whips around out of control, there's a heavy burst that sounds like escaping air. How do you account for that?
Quite easily. When the stern is suddenly thrown around out of balance, and it will be so repeatedly without the stern section, when that occurs, the speed of the rear sections of the boat is so great during the short arc of movement that the gas bursting from the combustion chamber is actually going into a vacuum created by the boat.
No wonder I don't feel so good when those things happen. If we're flapping around fast enough to leave a hole in the water behind us.
Joan, is it safe for me to return to the sleeping quarters and lie down?
Of course, Mother.
Pat, are you ill?
Of course I'm not ill. Only I think I'll rest a little.
You look kind of white around the mouth, Mrs. Gregory. Are you seasick?
Seasick? Oh, not after 15 years on the water in my own boat, but I think I'll go.
What is the matter with Mother?
She is seasick, Joan, though she wouldn't admit it for the world.
What is seasick?
Well, it's something that happens to a lot of people on the water, but, well, it'll never happen to me. Oh!
What's the matter, Jerry?
Well, I think I'll take a little rest, if you don't need me right here now.
Poor Jerry. This is the first time I've ever seen him act like that. Well, Joan, it looks as if you and I are the only 2 real sailors on the submarine.
But it is so foolish to act as Mother and Jerry are acting. Captain, is there a mist or a fog in this boat?
Why, no, Joan. The air's clear as a bell in here.
That is strange. My vision is impaired. I have never felt just like this before. What could be the matter with me?
Well, I could tell you, Joan, but I'll let you guess. That leaves one good sailor. Joan, you better go back with the others and lie down. If I should happen to find that I'm no stronger than the rest of you, I don't want anyone here to laugh at me.